Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Ricardo.
Morning, Ricardo. Morning.
Hey, NC, David. Morning. Morning.
Grand Rising family.
Brand Rising. Good morning. Good morning. All right, guys. We're gonna start in a couple of seconds. So, if you would like to maybe just put yourself in the chat where you coming in from. I know not everyone is in ATL, so let us know where you're coming in from. So. All right, well, Atlanta is in the house. South Africa is in the house. Was that David? Are you Mauritius or you're somewhere else? I know Mauritius is here too. Um, awesome, awesome. All right, guys. Good morning. Thank you for joining. This is our weekly Power Hour. Happens every Wednesday morning at 8:30 a.m. And we use this window to share as much as we can, whether it's education, information on how you can really take advantage of opportunities that is before you. We always say the hour will come and it's here and it shall pass, but the power continues. So, you know what to do at the end of the session. Your takeaways is to share with everyone you know about the things that you're learning from these different sessions, so that we can continue the power. My name is Ricardo Berries. I'm the chairman for the Global Opportunities Committee for the Atlanta Black Chambers. Our focus is global opportunities across trade, investment, and partnership around the world for our members. So if you're not yet a member of GOC, now is the time to join our community. We are promoting global opportunities within the Black global economy, as we always say. If there's a global economy, there is a Black global economy, and our quest is to get transactions to happen between us all over the world. And so as we go after our transactions, 100 billion in global transaction around the world, the question is how much of that is going to include you and your business? Is that going to be trade? Is that going to be partnership or investments that you're going to then make? So feel free, introduce yourself in the chat. There's an opportunity for you to connect with someone that you've never met before. But we're going to go right in. We've got two special folks here, two of my special people and two of our special people in the Atlanta community. And I do want to hand it over to Dr. Dawn Sizemore, who's going to be leading this throughout the rest of the session, and she'll go ahead and introduce our special guest as well. So, Doc, please go ahead and introduce yourself and take it over.
Good morning, hello, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. Thank you all for being here. I am so excited about this conversation today. My name is Dr. Dawn Sizemore, and I am the Programming and Metrics Lead for GOC, and also the founder and CEO of iCurric, which is an EdTech solutions firm specializing in custom curriculum and digital learning design. Excuse me. This year for 2025, I thought that it was really important for GOC to start to do more programming, have more conversations around those soft skills that are necessary really to do global business and build relationships. And that's why I think this conversation today is going to be so powerful, because we all know as business owners, you can't develop a business or make money alone. You need relationships. You need to be able to communicate your value. And you also have to be savvy with technology if you're looking to expand globally, and really learn how to leverage platforms in order to promote yourself and market what it is that what you have to offer. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with Barunda, Prince, and Ricardo. He kind of got thrown into it because I had the opportunity to be on a mission with these two almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years ago this year, which is bananas to me. August 2023 to Cali, Colombia. It was my first time traveling internationally in that way. I had been like on a cruise, maybe to Canada, things like that, but nothing like this for a whole week. And when I tell you, watching them interact, communicate, build, lead, the group in the way that they did was nothing short of spectacular. And I've learned so much being in conversation with them, just in terms of their mindset and how they go about building relationships, communicating value, building ecosystems across industries, cultures, and also technology. So I'm just thrilled and feel very, very grateful and blessed actually to be in this role to facilitate this conversation. I want to start off by introducing our first guest that will be in the conversation, Barunda Prince, who again is a colleague, a friend, a sister, a mentor to me. She has just a background in tech, business development, ecosystem development that just goes beyond without saying. So I want to welcome her and give her a chance to share a little bit about her background and get us started with the conversation.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much, Dawn and Ricardo, for sharing some of those highlights, but not all the insider information yet. So I just want to start with saying it's so nice to see everybody's name and face on here. It's beautiful to see all of my people this morning here in Atlanta. And like Dawn said, I feel blessed to have this conversation with you. So I am looking forward to the next hour. In terms of my background, as Dawn said, I have a very storied background. I'm a chemical engineer by training from MIT. I also have my MBA from Harvard Business School. I've worked in corporate America. You can name a few Fortune 500 companies that I've worked with. That's Procter & Gamble. If you want to know Dow Chemical, I've worked with them as well. I've done management consulting. In fact, I was the first Black female consultant for Bain & Company, which is one of the top 3 management companies in the world. And I've also done mergers and acquisitions. So I've helped to acquire businesses on a corporate level. And all of this has brought me to a point where, ironically, I got into entrepreneurship. And it started through innovation, just my interest in engineering, my interest in problem solving, and my interest in helping people, because that's something that's been a common thread throughout my career is how do I use my gifts and my talents and skills, not only for me, but to support other people in their dreams. So I was able to do that the first time, probably about 10 years in a very structured way, when I became managing director for Comcast NBC Universal's first tech accelerator that was located here in Atlanta. I did that for about 3 years, launched and led that, and it's still continuing. And then I left there and went to the Russell Center of Innovation, where I got to meet both Dawn and Ricardo and go to Colombia on that business trip with about 70, and Jennifer's on. So Jennifer was there as well, with about 70 Black entrepreneurs that we took there. And I spent about 4 years at the Russell Innovation Center as the COO. I'm currently at Clark Atlanta University, where I'm regional director, and I am again supporting about 45 historically Black colleges and universities and to stand up their entrepreneurship programs. So entrepreneurship is really near and dear to my heart. People are really the cornerstone of what I do. And I get the honor and the pleasure of, again, using my talents and my skills to hopefully make things a little bit easier for other people and to make it better for all of us.
Thank you so much, Verunda. You're just a wealth of knowledge. If you are not following her on LinkedIn, look her up, follow her. Just a wealth of knowledge to learn. So excited to speak with you. I joked with you, Ricardo, in saying that I wasn't going to let you tell a little bit about your background because everybody knows you. But I think this is important because we know you, GOC, this community knows you in one perspective, but I don't know if they get to really hear about these different nuances that come along with your mind as an entrepreneurship, specifically related to how you use technology. He's actually a tech founder. We don't get to talk about that a whole lot. And then how you leverage technology and digital networking and partnerships to build GOC, to build all of the different companies that you are responsible for. So just kind of share, before we kind of dig into the conversation, just give us a little bit of what we don't know about you in that regard.
Yeah, well, thanks, Doc, and Brenda. Thanks again for jumping in and spending some time with us. I always feel like I have split personality, so there's always these different things that that goes on that people probably don't know. And here's a secret, like, one thing that I do enjoy is going into the studio and making music, and it would be surprising to you that I actually do make music, and I do have tracks on iTunes and anywhere music is, right? I also have a podcast that I record and chit chat with colleagues. That's an evergreen podcast that's actually out there too. And a lot of people don't know about those pieces because again, it really is, sometimes I just laser focus on what I need to get done and just do it. As you mentioned, I'm a founder of MI Group, and we've been in the tech space for 15 years, building custom software and really helping a number of brands and businesses to grow across the region. We do have an office out in Miami. We do have an office out in Colombia. So we've been pretty much at this for some time now, in really understanding the landscape of the region, particularly the Western Hemisphere, and as we get ready to then, do this also on the continent of Africa. So it's been a long time, if you may, coming, working through these different things. I'm super excited about the opportunity that technology has given all of us, and even though I think within the GOC community, we're literally just getting started. I mean, we haven't really delve and really embrace technology the way that we need to. So I'm really excited about the opportunity that's ahead. And for anyone who is in tech or who has any interest in tech, we really need to then sort of create a mastermind around how do we utilize technology to take advantage of the things that we have before us. The world is much smaller today than it ever was because of tech. And as Mark Andreessen says, software is going to eat the world up, and we see exactly what that is so true today, and it will be true 30 years from now. AI is in place now, humanoid is coming, and all of these different things. And it was just even yesterday we were talking to a team about forget about building websites. You're going to have to get used to building AI agents. And the same way you would go to WordPress and Wix and GoDaddy website builder to build a website, you got to get used to going to an agent builder to build your agent and deploy your agent. And so that's the new world that we're living in. So really excited to be a part of this community. Really excited to share the things that sometimes you don't know about me, but of course, usually if you don't ask, sometimes I don't tell. But back to you.
Thank you so much. That was perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, just thinking about, and we're going to have a whole nother power hour just about tech and global opportunities, because you said so many things. I'm thinking about the Atlanta Black Tech Summit that's happening tonight. And yeah, you said so many things. So we're definitely gonna have to follow up on that. But I want to bring it back to, kind of set the stage for the conversation around digital networking, and let Belinda kind of describe to us, what is that? What does that mean, in the face of technology advancement and how rapidly things are changing, the need for entrepreneurs to really be able to access global markets. What does digital networking mean in respect to all of these different things we have to consider?
Yeah, so Ricardo had a great lead in with talking about the fact that technology has made the world very, very small. It's also made it very big at the same time, meaning that it's expanded our reach into other markets that we wouldn't have had access otherwise. And I say that any business that is not technology enabled will not be in business, and that's not an understatement or an overstatement at all, because what technology does is it allows you to get data and analytics so that you can better able reach and provide value to your customers. It also allows you to, again, change and support maybe your narrative. So not only your messaging has to be on point, but your relationship has to be on point, and technology helps to make that credible. And if you have something that is not, I will say, complementary or not consistent in the way that you approach it, be it the technology, the brand messaging, the relationship, the timing, the focus, then it really all falls apart. So technology, I will say, is kind of the hub, and there are spokes all around that, that the technology supports. What I am seeing is that companies are using technology to really leapfrog competition, each other. As Ricardo said, you're going to have to know how to build your own AI bot. Engineering now has, I would say, prompt engineers. So where people are learning how to do better prompts for AI so that you can get better results, more targeted, more cultivated, more specific results for what you're wanting to do. Companies are already deploying these engineers in that way, and small businesses are going to start deploying it in that way. So I think it once opens up the world and makes the world very small, and the speed and the pace is accelerating in terms of the pace of in terms of the pace of the changes, and the fact that as a small business owner, you have to keep pace with that. You have to know what the next thing, the latest thing is. Otherwise, your competitors will again leapfrog you.
Wow, like so what I you said a lot, but what I really hear from you, Barunda, is it's really about using the technology for positioning. So as you use the technology to enable the businesses and to improve your operations, your ability to connect with your potential customers through the technology, then that's really creating the leverage you need to build those relationships via digital networking. So it's a lot about readiness and then really positioning. So how then, Ricardo, have you leveraged specific tech platforms, social media platforms like LinkedIn, to kind of do what Barunda is describing, as you enable your various companies, making sure they're tech enabled, you're able to access the clients that you're looking. Then how does social media platforms and the relationship building play into that process?
Yeah, I mean, so these are tools, right? And the way that I think we should look at them, and they're tools to really help us to be more productive and more efficient in the goals that we actually have, particularly around sort of whether it's client acquisition or just simply networking. I think it was Gary Vee who said, like, social media is going to be here. There are just so many different dynamics that will change over time, but it will actually be here, and it is our job to understand their context and how to actually use them to leverage the things that we want. So I love LinkedIn, excuse me, because as a B2B professional, you know, LinkedIn is really this space to really draw attention to what it is that you're seeking to do. And the funny thing is, if you study these social media, you actually study the behavior of the algorithms and the behavior of the platform and exactly what is that's drawing people's attention. And if you can get that conceptually correct, then your messaging, how you actually share stuff out there is essentially going to do the same thing, because it's no longer about it's really a sort of an interest platform. I think Gary says that it's not even should be called, you know, social media anymore, but it really should be interest media. Like people are interested in things. And if you can really get behind those particular interest with what it is that you are providing, I think you certainly will be able to get a lot of people's attention. So that's a big part of why I actually love it. And then there's also the automation piece, right? We've got AI sales tools and we've got agents now who, by the way, if you didn't know, LinkedIn is, you can actually scrape LinkedIn if you have the right tools. You can scrape LinkedIn, meaning you can actually go over there with a script or a tool, and you can pull anybody's profile. You know, LinkedIn tried to sue the company who did that publicly, and they lost because it is a public network. It is a directory that you can actually scrape. So you can imagine having an AI agent who you say, I want you to go to LinkedIn on a daily basis, and I want you to look for these people for me. And when you find them, I want you to send them a message, and I want you to include my calendar link or an option to book an appointment with me inside those message. And we see those things are actually happening automatically, right? So a lot of the messages that you get in LinkedIn, I promise you, maybe half of the time, it's not actually the person who is trying to get your attention is actually doing that manually. It is a tool that they're now activating to be able to do that. So these are some of the interesting ways that you'll be able to leverage those kinds of platforms.
This is why this conversation is so important, and I'm excited. If for those of you who maybe have joined a little bit later, I started the call with explaining that a couple of the power hours will be a little bit more focused on soft skill building, making sure that we are providing our community with those skills that they need to really do global business. So this is one of the first power hours that are like that, focusing on main topics, these key topics of digital networking and partnership building. And I just had a thought and just had to even rethink, you know, when I think about program development and skill building, upskilling entrepreneurs, as Ricardo was speaking, even thinking about the soft skill of communication, relationship building, it even in itself is going to evolve based on entrepreneurs' ability to develop skill in technology development. So we talk about developing these AI agents and knowing really how to not only use the technology to enable their operations to access the markets and the customers, but to enable their own, to rethink really and reimagine what social networking really is. I think Ricardo made an incredible point about how even thinking about LinkedIn as an interest-based platform versus a social media type platform. Barunda, but what does that mean for relationship building though? Okay, so one of the things that I always say, I'm a very, very like proponent of the technology has to enhance the human experience. You know, you can't put the technology, at least traditionally, before the human experience. But what does that mean for relationship building? Ricardo just talked about how you may be thinking you're getting a message from the actual person, but it could be some automated bot or something. Like, what does that mean for the relationship building and really understanding how to deepen connections to do business? Because we know that those relationships are still at the heart of the business that gets done.
Absolutely. So business is about relationships, and I see technology as a way to extend and expand those relationships. I'm going to give you an example. I'm on a board of a Swiss-based company that has locations in the United States, Sweden, Switzerland, and Germany. The way that I got on that board was I met someone at a conference, had a conversation, maybe 10 or 15 minutes in passing. I told them I worked with entrepreneurs and have been doing this for some time. They then, over the course of the next year or so, really followed me on LinkedIn, looked at my post, and looked at the kinds of things that I was doing, who I was interacting with, and so on. And then they called me up and said, I would like you to join my board of directors. I would have never had that opportunity had not I first had the conversation and interaction in person, but then also had the social media presence to support and to provide credibility for what the into the personal interaction and engagement showed. So that's an example of how it extended the connection, though we're in different countries. I have met him 3 times in person over the last 10 years. But what we've done is we've created an online relationship that has been built on trust. It's been built on consistency. So we meet frequently. We've gotten to know each other, and relationships are all about trust and vulnerability. We do business with people that we know, right? And so in your social media, in your LinkedIn, in your profiles, again, it has to be consistent. And then the performance has to be there too. And that has to be consistent in the way that it's done. There's an example of Stanley. Stanley was really known in the construction industry for Stanley tools, really some of their thermoses, because they were very durable. Well, if you notice now, Stanley has moved into the marketplace of people who are exercise enthusiasts. So they're carrying Stanley mugs and Stanley tumblers. So they have an entirely new demographic that really was started from social media, and then someone else then promoted that, someone else promoted it. And so now they have an entirely different demographic and client base, really from the framework of relationship building, coming up with a narrative that fits that credibly in terms of what is the value that you're bringing, and then really consistently delivering on that. So to your question, Dawn, about how does it change the way that we do, that we build our relationships? We have to be much more intentional about it, because we have this screen, right? That's in front of us. We have to read body language differently. We have to be really consistent and, I would say, observant about different norms. So what we do here in the States, and Ricardo brought this point up today when I said, hey, it's a snow day here in Atlanta. And he said, well, yeah, but there are a lot of folks that are from around the world. They're not here in Atlanta. So being really cognizant of what those differences mean in terms of cultural norms, in terms of expectations, in terms of timing. When you're scheduling meetings with someone that's somewhere else, try to find times that overlap. When you're sending emails, try to find times, again, that it's going to be consistent, where you schedule it to be delivered in a time that's consistent with their work schedule and not necessarily just yours. So I think being intentional, being thoughtful, and then being responsive in terms of your relationship building are all critical aspects that are not only something that you need to do when you're doing face-to-face or in-person building, but also even more necessary when you're doing online or distance or virtual relationship building, because it is much harder for you to do that.
Wow, like so I so many jewels dropped there. The thoughts that pop out top of mind from what you said is the importance of consistency. I heard you say that how technology can really help improve relational intelligence, and then also how these various factors working together can help provide insight into market opportunity through that example that you shared around Stanley. I hope you all are, picking up some of these jewels. These two are dropping. I want to go a little bit deeper into the trust factor, but before I do that, pivot a little bit until a more deeper conversation around the partnership building. I want to hand it back over to Ricardo for a second, just to check in with the community and make sure that we have any highlights from other community members here.
Yeah, no, thanks, Doc. I appreciate it. So one of the things that we want to do more of in the Power Hour is to randomly spotlight members. So please check your message, your chat. If you got a message requesting if you want to come on to spotlight and be spotlighted, hit me back so that we can bring you up and have folks know who you are It's important. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about building. So message me back. I don't want to just call you out like that, but I know you're ready and we're born ready and stuff. But just give me a message back if you got something from me asking if you'd like to be spotlighted. So we bring you on. You could talk about your business. You could talk about what it is that you what is that you're doing. So I see we have one of our members that I want to call Doc. She is actually in Guyana. She runs all the Caribbean for GOC, the head of regional leadership for the Caribbean, but she's a businesswoman as well. And she knows a thing or two about relationships and about building. She's someone that I admire. Stacy Mollison is here. And Stacy, if you can come off mic and just introduce yourself. She's actually leading a crew over into Suriname over the next couple of days to sign an MOU with the Black Entrepreneur Association of Guyana, now extending itself over into Suriname. This is amazing. So I wanted Stacey to just come on. She's a member. She's a big timer. We want to spotlight her for a quick minute. Stacey.
Morning, everyone. I thought I would just sneak in and listen in this morning, but that didn't happen. I'm Stacy Mollison, President and CEO of Libra Management Group. Guyanese born, migrated to the States when I was 10 years old, grew a couple of businesses in the States. We have 3 verticals: real estate, government services, and transportation logistics. We have about 145 employees over our businesses in the United States. And then I jumped back to Guyana over the last few years and just stood up 2 businesses here, Libra Management and Energy Group, which is a duplication of the services we provide through our management consulting firm in the US. And then I just partnered with 4 of my siblings who are, 3 of them are engineers, to start a real estate development and construction firm, Guyana Property Solutions, here in Guyana. And we, 2 of my brothers, 2 civil engineers, one was living in Trinidad and one in Antigua, doing a lot of construction development there. I'm so proud to say that one returned in October and the other just returned on Saturday. And we're looking at both developing opportunities in Guyana and then now in Suriname as 2 of the new oil producing nations. Guyana discovered oil back in 2015, sold our first barrel of crude in 2019, and now Suriname is right behind us. They're expected to have production of first oil in 2028. We're kind of twinning the 2 nations together. So with Don Simpson, and so this is a great story, Ricardo, because I met Don Simpson in Atlanta through the Atlanta Black Chambers. Through our relationship, not only is Dawn doing business in Guyana, she's brought me into an opportunity that she had in Guyana. I've already gotten a check from doing business with her. And we are going over to Suriname today because Dawn has decided that she wanted to stand up a Black Entrepreneurs Association, which I'm a founding member of Black Entrepreneurs Association Guyana. So we are on Saturday launching Black Entrepreneurs Association Suriname. And we're super excited to collaborate and work together. And I think that is what ABC represents.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, this is lovely, right? This is exactly why we set out to do this. And Stacey, we've got to make sure we record that transaction, right? I don't know how much a check is, but hopefully it can get us closer to 100 billion, right? But the idea here is, folks, when you experience these kinds of opportunities, when you experience these kinds of things, please share them with us, because it's a big world out there, but we are so all connected, right? And it's important that as you go through your journey and you interact with other members. Look at this. She met Dawn, a GOC member right here in Atlanta, right? And now they're doing business together. Who would have thought? And so this is a prime example of what it is to be connected and also to build relationship. Doc, I don't know if I can take one more, but I see there's a gentleman eager to share himself. I think he's coming on board as GOC member. He's an ABC member, and I'm almost threatening him that you got to be a part of GOC, otherwise I'm not going to give you any more spotlight. Dave Smith, welcome, Dave. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business real quick.
Thank you so much. I'll be fast because this is my first time being on the call, but thank you so much for responding to my LinkedIn message last night. I appreciate that. Sometimes you hit people on LinkedIn and you don't hear back, but we're very responsive. Obviously, I see you on the ABC. I am a proud member of the ABC. I have a company called Branded Live, and we create AI agents. I do believe that everyone, by the time of 2025, it'll be almost as common as having a cell phone. You will have your own personal AI agent. And I don't know if anybody saw the announcement of President Trump. I didn't necessarily vote for him, but I do like the fact that he is about AI and advancing what we're doing here in the United States. They got a contribution of $500 billion that was announced yesterday to make sure that the United States of America is the leader. I know this is global, but I'm excited about the US, and I'm excited about what's happening globally as well. But he is really stepping up to the plate to make sure that we are represented well, because there's a lot of other people out there that 3 or 4 months behind us. And so we will start expanding our lead once again with the investments from folks like Oracle. He had the gentleman there from OpenAI and a couple of other people. If you're into technology, I'm sure you saw that announcement. But I'm excited to be a part, and I'm happy to be a part of the call today. And I'll have to get with you, Ricardo, about how do I join the GOC. But thank you for this time this morning. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Over to you, Doc.
This is amazing. This is so amazing. So, and you're right that the hour does come and go, because I'm watching the clock, Ricardo, and I want to make sure we get into this partnership building. Brenda, so you talked a lot about, you gave a great example, about the relationship you developed that led to that the board seat. And what are some of the things that you look for in taking a connection to a relationship to a partnership? Like, what does that look like for B Prince?
No, Dawn, it starts with like interests. Ricardo talked about LinkedIn is really an interest platform, and you can look at interest groups and people that you have in common that you want to follow. It can be, it can be from your graduate school or your undergraduate school, but some kind of common interest. It could be the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a big Philadelphia Eagles fan, so that's one of my interest groups. But it's like common interest starting there. And then from there, you get to know people. You get to see how they move in their space, in their area, how people interact and engage with them. And then sometimes, as Stacy said, there's kind of that common ground that you find where opportunities kind of percolate up that you weren't necessarily pursuing, but you were pursuing the relationship. And then from pursuing the relationship, the opportunity comes about. So for me, it's a very organic getting to know the person, getting to know what they're doing, what their interest levels are, what their backgrounds, expertise might be. And it's about that being vulnerable, having trust. It's about saying, do we have similar objectives and similar goals? Are we in a similar space that we're playing in? Are we in a similar space in our lives? And then looking at all those commonalities. And from there, again, a lot of organic opportunities seem to occur as a result of that. There are some that are intentional, but a lot more, I think, really are because you were in the right place, the right time, you were open and receptive to these opportunities. You already had the relationship built, or at least a foundation, and you continue to lean into that relationship. So I think that for me, I look at people first. I always look at what people are doing and not necessarily what they're saying. I look at both, but I want to make sure that they're both consistent. And then I look at and say, is this someone that I would want to do business with? Because we know business is hard, right? And we know that challenges are going to come. And when challenges happen, I want to be able to know that this is somebody that I can trust. This is someone I can trust ethically, morally, that we have a similar value structure, that maybe even we have a similar communication style, so that if we encounter a problem, I know that that person is going to come to me so that we can problem solve, as opposed to letting it fester and not address it. So looking at all of those kinds of things and saying, what's the leadership style? What's the objective in terms of, if we're going into business, is their objective similar to mine? Is their objective to maybe get the company to a point where we sell it? Or do they want it to be generational wealth building and stay in our families? But having those kinds of conversations over time, so that we can have an aligned approach to the way that we want to do business. But the foundation is really the relationship building and getting to know the person first.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, like, I love how you said, how things happen organically. And I'm thinking about, why most of us are here when we think about our why into entrepreneurship around wealth building, overcoming generational poverty, and how being, that person, that leader, that person that you want to do business will naturally attract certain opportunities to you that you are aligned with as it relates to your interests, and then also your values. Ricardo, can you share some experiences? I know you've been doing this international business for a while. The transparency piece and the vulnerability piece. Sometimes we're taught as entrepreneurs, when you're marketing, when you're trying to attract, certain people, there's a school of thought, you got to fake it till you make it, right? Sometimes, how much of that, is okay, in the spirit of what Brenda is speaking about, the vulnerability that's necessary, and the transparency in building these relationships across international lines. How do you balance that?
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, well, first of all, the best thing that you could do for yourself when you seek to build relationship is be authentic, like be who you are, because, people can spot, as they say, BS and fake from afar. So you want to make sure that you don't lead with that. I think the other thing too, and as you were asking the question, I thought about be, do, have, which is sort of a trifactor that I think about a lot, especially when, as an entrepreneur and in my own journey. In order to have, I have to do, and in order to do, I have to actually be. And so if I'm looking for people to be transparent with me, I have to be transparent. If I'm looking for people to be authentic with me, I have to be authentic. But it is about, how do I work on myself? Because the more I'm able to be, then the more I will actually have. So as you travel, you interact with different culture, you really want to own in on that be. It's a tough job, because a lot of times you're like, okay, should you be faking it? Yes, there's a lot of times you have to fake it till you make it. A lot of times you have to walk into a room and act like you're the president, and then walk right back out into an Uber, and that's okay. But the truth is, you really want to make sure that you're authentic, regardless. So my message to folks here is that be that person that you truly are, so that, because that shines outward. And so on my recent trip, for example, to Chile, I was in Chile a few weeks ago, and once I landed into Santiago, I looked around and was like, where's our people? And we weren't there at all. But the reality is, like, okay, there's nothing for me to fake here. I need to be who I am. I'm an African American. I'm a Black business owner. This is who I am, and this is what I'm going to be throughout the rest of the experience. And it's funny because it attracted so many people. And in Chile, they had a saying that says, you're like a tropical fruit to us here, because we don't always have you guys coming down. So when you come out here, you're almost like a gem, and we really want to kind of surround ourselves with you. I was like, who would have thought? Like, if I had pretended in some way, shape, or form, that may not have been the case. And now we have a contract we just signed in Santiago, and it took just a couple of weeks to be able to actually do that. So it really is about authenticity. It really is about just really be, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about the challenges? Like, how do you in those in cultural differences? Because we know they exist. Maybe more so in mindset, than they actually exist. Because I do believe, and even with that experience, to Cali, we realized that we were much more alike, than we expected. But when there are differences, what are some of the strategies, Ricardo, that you've used to overcome those and push through to continue to build relationships? Or when do you walk away?
Yeah, it's a great question. The Bible says the fruits of the spirits are love, joy, peace, etc. But I remember the other one, which is patience. And sometimes you've just got to be patient. Sometimes you've got to think about, I like to think about this as when I'm on the golf course, your first swing may never even hit the ball. And you might be like so mad at yourselves, like you probably break the clubs. But if you keep swinging and if you keep at it, at some point you're going to get it right. And I think being patient when you get into these different cultural dynamics, you really need to understand the other person, right? And it's always about what does the other person want, and that really truly helps you to understand them. And then what's required of you. Patience has been required of me ever since I've been traveling, and it's like, okay, we don't, I heard someone says when I was in South Africa in December, must have been the minister. He said, here in South Africa we do things real quick. But in America, the Americans do it real quick. And so it's like he added another real to it. And it was like, it's an indication that it's a cultural difference. So even though in America, you've got 6 lanes and you're always on the go and you're stopping at Dunkin's, you got to pick the kids, you got to do all these other stuff. Understand what the other person wants from you, and it's not they don't live in the same kind of culture. So patience, I believe, is one way to overcome some of those challenges. And again, authenticity, patient, but at the same time also being able to communicate, ensure that you really understand the value of building those relationships, staying in touch, because a lot of times people think that, okay, maybe you're not who you say you are, and we've got to be careful because we've been, we're doing business internationally, we've been hurt before, and how do we handle those kinds of stuff? So those are the ways that I've been able to handle it, continuing to build those relationships through communication, being patient, and just really exercising that level of understanding with your counterparts.
Dawn, can I just add something to that
Yeah,
very quickly?
I was going to have you, because I've seen, so first, no, that was excellent, Ricardo. I've seen Barunda in live action demonstrate the patience of Job, literally. Like, how do you give us some more sauce, Barunda? Add to Ricardo, like, how do you do that when you have all this pressure, all these things you're trying to get done? You can feel the energy rising, just being like, you know what, I'm not dealing with this. Give it to us.
Yeah, I think, well, in addition to what Ricardo said, which I think is absolutely spot on, you have to be curious. You have to be curious about people, and you have to be curious about their goals, their objectives, and you have to be open to other perspectives and other experiences. I think one of the things that I love and absolutely adore about travel is I get to go to a place where it's different from the place I live, where people have different experiences from me, and they teach me things all the time, and I learn from them, and hopefully they learn something from me. But if you're open-ended about that, and you really want to connect on a human level and in a respectful way, so that it's not, I will say, not in a patriarchal way, but really in a, hey, we're both humans. We really want the same things fundamentally when it comes down to life, right? We all want health, happiness, well-being. We want to take care of our families. We all fundamentally want the same things. So starting from that place of shared desire and shared need, and then just being curious about, what does that look like for you? What does that mean for you? And I think that is back to that authenticity, as well as just connecting with people on a very, very human level, because people do respond to that. And people also respond when they feel that you are not being authentic, when you are not open, when you are using them for your own purposes and good. People know that, they sense that, and they respond to it. In Cali, one of the best things was for me getting to know some of the other entrepreneurs, certainly the 70 that we brought over, but also the Cali entrepreneurs, being open and learning about their stories, learning about their experiences, because people are very, very interesting. And people have stories, they have history, they have desires, they have dreams. If you can tap into that energy, and if you can show not only genuine interest, but a desire to support and help them, it really unlocks a lot of possibilities. So one of the things I would add to what Ricardo said is be curious and be open to different perspectives and doing things in a different way and learning.
Wow, like this has been just phenomenal. I think one of the things that's coming from listening to you, and I knew it, both of you, is just how closely related personal development is to entrepreneurship development, and how the need for humility, always posture yourself as a student and with a growth mindset, and being willing to be open to different perspectives and learning and continuing to grow. So I'm going to give you both the opportunity just to share some final thoughts before I turn it over to Ricardo so we can open it up for Q&A. I guess we'll start with Ricardo so Verunda can have the final word. Ricardo, what are just some final jewels that you would like to share around partnership building and digital networking for the group?
Yeah, so so a couple things real quick, and you've heard me said this, Doc, before, and it's contextual, right? Sell what people want to buy until they're ready to buy what you have to sell. And so you may walk into a room and you're bullish on your product, you're bullish on your service, but ain't nobody want to buy that. You have to listen to the other party, and you have to read between the lines. And if you're able to do that well, you're going to be picking up a lot of signals that says maybe you can tweak something that you brought in the room. Maybe you can pivot something that you brought into the room, just so that you can end up with the contract, or you can end up with the check, like Stacy, right? And I had that experience when I was in Chile. I mean, I walked into a space, largest tech event in South America, and I'm standing there meeting someone, and I'm talking about tech. Okay, and our contract has nothing to do with tech at the end. It actually had something to do with something else totally, but it was just in listening to that person, what is it that they actually want, and trying to actually help them to get that. So that would be one thing. And then the other piece I would say is, connections are so easy to form these days. Like, you could literally spend an hour on LinkedIn and get to 100 people in that short window. You could go out tomorrow or this weekend and scan business cards and exchange business cards. But the real part is building the relationship, right? How many of you in your Rolodex today, or wherever you store your business cards, how many of you have not reached out to the person that you connected to about a year ago, or possibly about 6 months ago? How many of you reached out only one time, and because you didn't get a response, you decide to just throw it out the window? How many of you have not exercised patience in really getting to know the other person? And so if that is you, we really have to then fix those kinds of mindset, right? And that's very, very important. So I would recommend that you lean into the relationship piece. It's okay to build connection. You're going to need that wheel to turn. We talk about the opportunity funnel. It's like a marketing funnel. At the very top of the funnel, you need connection. You're always going to need to connect with new people. I know most of you have never met Verunda here before. You probably never met some other folks introducing themselves before. This is great. But what happens next is the hard part. And that's the relationship building. Because if we're going to get to the transaction, right, I always say the gap between the connection and the transaction is too far apart. Our goal is to close it up. How do we close it? Because business need to grow, business need to thrive, and we've got a lot of businesses who are dying, and that's because we spend too much time just connecting and no time building those relationships and getting to those transactions, right? People are literally walking around in the world with a checkbook just looking for somebody to sign it to. And is that you? And if that's you, then you really need to be able to extract those from relationships. So that would be my last point, Doc.
Thank you so much. Verunda, close us out.
Wow. Yeah, I can just say wow to that, Ricardo. I want to echo the part about saying that building relationships is hard work. it doesn't matter if it's a work relationship or if it's a personal relationship or, with your spouse or your children. It takes work, and it doesn't take, it's got to be consistent work, not sporadic work. It's also got to be genuine. So I would say guard your time well. Don't try to create deep relationships with everybody you meet. That's almost an impossibility. It's also a farce because you're not going to have deep relationships with everybody that you meet. So be very intentional about which relationships you're going to invest in and how you're going to do it. And then, as Ricardo said, go about the hard work of making that happen. The second thing that I want to just reiterate is that, yes, technology, platforms, social media, all of that is key because it is an extension of us. It's a tool for us to do our jobs better, to connect easier, to get more information. But that's going to change. What's not going to change is the impact of human-to-human interaction, human-to-human engagement. So at the core of it, no matter what tool you decide to use, no matter what your objective is, keep at the core of it human beings, because that part is going to be consistent. Whereas the technology is going to change in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years. But what is going to be consistent is the human element.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you both. Phenomenal job as expected. Yeah, just a wealth of knowledge and information. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you.
Ricardo, you can close us out, I guess, Q&A, or take it back over, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, this is awesome, guys. I wish we have a part two. Well, I would like to request a part two. So it's going to be up to you, Doc, to kind of orchestrate that with Baranda. But I'm sure folks will agree with me that this was really powerful. As I always say, the hour will come, and it's actually coming. It's right 4 minutes away from the hour. But the power continues. That means your responsibility, your job is to continue this conversation among your team, among your peers, and really continue to build, right? There's room for that. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions? We've got a couple of minutes. Maybe we could take 1 or 2 questions if you do. And so maybe you want to raise your hand if you do have a question for Baranda or Doc or myself. Go ahead and raise your hand. And in the meantime, you're getting ready to do that. I just want to let you know, as Baranda mentioned, human-to-human interaction is going to be still the most powerful thing, regardless of how the technologies phases. So this week we actually have a mixer, right? And so thanks to Dr. Dawn and she's putting together, hosting a mixer at the upper room. I think Sam is sharing that in the chat. If you are in town and you'd like to press the flesh, as we always say, because pressing the flesh never gets hold. You got to shake the hands and look people in the eye and say, hello, come out and connect with us. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to get to know who you are. Obviously, we'd love to build those relationships with you. So look for the information in the chat and sign up for that. Next week, we are actually back here at the Power Hour. We're going to be talking to some folks from Zimbabwe. Now, Zimbabwe is a real gem on the continent, and or regional lead, Barbara, and some of her colleagues. She's going to be bringing some folks from Zimbabwe to have conversations, and you would have seen that in the chat. Sign up for that. It's totally free. Invite your folks to come through and be a part of that conversation. So I see a hand in the room here, Bilal, and then Charles. I don't know, Bilal, do you still want to ask your question, or did your hand go down?
Yes, just pleasure to be here. The wealth of knowledge and information shared. Pleasure to see everybody, doing their thing. Even Stacey Mollison, it just seemed like just yesterday I introduced her to ABC and GOC and see all the amazing work. Glad to reconnect. Ricardo, I have a question about that tool to use Scrub LinkedIn. So when is that next session coming, and can we do something specifically on that, through scrubbing and the agent utilized in LinkedIn?
Yeah, we can definitely work through that. I'll leave it to Sam to sort of put together maybe a topic around tech and just the broader sense of how you utilize utilize some of these tools. But there's so many of them out there, and maybe this is something I think Dave is still on the call. Maybe he can also be a part and share into that. So we'll work on that and put something together. But here's what I'll say until that time comes. You get an opportunity to meet each other in things like our virtual B2B matchmaking. We have a virtual B2B matchmaking event on the 30th. And if you need a tool, if you're looking for a solution, if you're looking to provide something, sign up for that B2B, because that's going to be where you do more than just connect. The platform is recognizing who you are, understanding your profile. And if you're looking for something to help your business grow, or you're looking to provide something to help someone else's business grow, that is the opportunity for you. An entire day on the 30th of January has been dedicated just to B2B, just for B2B matchmaking conversation. And that's super exciting, because show me another community that is actually doing that for our people, right? It's easy to go out Friday nights and party, and easy to go weekend out, cook out, etc. But this, where we're curating connections between each other, finding the things that you want, I think that's exciting. So please do join that, Bilal, until we figure out what day we can kind of have that topic around tools you can use in the global news. I just rhymed that out. But Charles, you have a question? Charles, please unmute. Go ahead
Grand
quickly.
Rising, everyone. Grand Rising, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. This is an outstanding, this is definitely an outstanding platform. My question had to do more so with the economics, and I'm new to this. And
You're
so
breaking up a
I'm
little
very
bit.
unclear on how the okay. I may even be in the wrong, this may not be the wrong atmosphere to ask this question, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah,
I
go ahead
don't
with your question.
understand how how do you overcome the challenge of the monetary value of money in different countries?
Okay, are you asking that to any of us, or Barunda, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, so Charles, by saying the challenge of monetary value, you're just saying, elaborate on that for me. I want to make sure that I answer your question.
It's kind of hard to even formulate the question, but basically I know that, in Mexico, they have pesos and they can purchase their product for a lot less than we can purchase our product here. So I'm trying to figure out, how do we overcome the challenge of the disparity of the money, if that makes any sense. I'm trying the best I can.
No. I think I get it, and I know Ricardo will jump into this because he has some real world experience, with working with, and I have some experience with supply chain. So what I typically suggest to companies, that they write that in their contract, what the currency is going to be in. So what currency are you going to do business in? And that's going to be dictated by, what's the most favorable approach to it. So if it's more favorable to do it in US dollars, and my experience has been most business contracts usually use US dollars as the basis of that. And then they simply use an exchange rate to make that transition, or to make the to actually do the business. So if you address that contractually up front, then you don't have to worry about making those decisions back and forth as you conduct business. So that would be one way to approach it. I don't know, Ricardo, what your experience has been.
Yeah, I totally agree. You want to be upfront in terms of set those expectations in terms of how you're going to do the business, right? I think the other thing that I'll say is, so be willing to be flexible with your pricing, because your pricing here in the US may not necessarily be attractive to the pricing somewhere else. And so you want to be cognizant of the market that you're actually serving. So I would also add that bit too. Just really do a little bit of market intelligence around sort of what does the market pay for this particular service locally. And for me, for example, what that means if I'm doing business in Colombia and I have one client in Colombia that would essentially pay for half the client I have here in the US, I'm literally trying to see if I can make a deal with two of them at the same time. And potentially, I'd like them to also know each other, because if I get a buy-in from both of them, then they get a better deal. And those are little strategies and tactics that you can use so that you don't really, undersell or undervalue the product or services that you have.
Mhm.
All right. So
Thank you.
hopefully that was helpful. Great question, by the way. Please lean in. You got an opportunity to be a part of the Global Opportunities Committee through the Atlanta Black Chamber. Go on the atlantablackchambers.org and register. Make sure you let them know you want to be a part of GOC. Well, folks, the hour has actually passed and we're 5 over, but the power continues. I know you're excited and you should keep that power going. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to have this chat with you. Thank you, Doc, for hosting, and thank you, Miranda. I'll give you the last word, Doc, before we hop off here, and I'll just stick around so people can download the chat. Maybe you want to save the chat or something of that sort to connect with some other folks who you like here.
Oh, thank you all so much. Be sure to complete the feedback survey. Let us know what you think. Add those follow-up topics that you're looking for. We hope to see you at the Mixer on Thursday. I know it's a little cold outside if you're in Atlanta, but it's a chance just to press the flesh, as Ricardo said, connect, and maybe have something warm to drink while you're there to warm yourself up. So thank you all so much for being here. Hope to see you next week during next week's Power Hour, and then also at the B2B matchmaking session at the end of the month. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you for your time, attention. Take care.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Bye.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mark. Mark, good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I just saw Sheila as well. Sheila, Uganda. I see Mark from
Thank
Dubai,
you. I'm
Dubai here
here.
too.
Thanks. That's
Thanks for
great.
coming. Thanks for coming, guys. We appreciate
Welcome.
appreciate it.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. All right, make sure you grab the chat if you need to, because we're gonna close this out in a couple of seconds. Bilal, thanks for jumping. Good to see you, man. NC, good to see you. Good to see all of you as well. Appreciate you coming.
Looking
All
for
right. I think Sam, everybody probably got their chance to grab the chat.
how can I do it from my phone, Ricardo? I know I can do it from my laptop.
Yeah, the phone piece is a little tricky, and
Okay.
the option should be somewhere there on the
At the bottom, I'm looking.
yeah, but Sam, if you can do it, maybe you can share with Bilal in the you're still in the GOC group, yes?
Yes.
Maybe you can share it with him, Sam, if you're able to download it.
Oh yeah, good stuff though. Definitely on the connect on the tech space, man. I have some things I just soft lunching myself, so we definitely need to connect. See if I can make it out Thursday.
Good deal, man. Good deal. All right, looking forward to it.
All right.
All right, take it easy.
All right, peace.